Welcome, everyone. I have a huge update today on BOIs. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals has just reversed itself. BOIs are now unconstitutional again. I know this may seem crazy. This has been a whipsaw. It's been going back and forth. But on December 27th, today, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals reversed the December 23rd order that reinstated BOIs and that said BOIs are constitutional. So what is the status right now? The status right now is you don't have to file a BOI if you don't want to. The injunction that was put in place earlier in December by a federal district court judge in Texas in the Top Cop Shop case, which basically said, FinCEN, you cannot enforce this BOI requirement for LLC and corporations to require them to file this business ownership information report to the federal government. You cannot force them to do it. You cannot penalize them. That requirement and law is unconstitutional. That was the Texas case. We reported on this. I put videos, we put a lot of content out on this, letting business owners know, our clients, that you didn't have to file this. Well, on December 23rd, right before Christmas Eve, a Fifth Circuit panel of 3 judges said, nah, this is actually constitutional and you have to file it. December 27th, the Fifth Circuit comes back and says, actually, this is unconstitutional. And this is a Fifth Circuit merit panel is what they're called. And essentially what happened here is this got fast-tracked to the fastest motion calendar in the Fifth Circuit on December 23rd. A 3-judge panel is who ruled it constitutional and brought BOIs back. So the lay of the land right now is you do not need to file a BOI. Now there's a ton of questions. What's going to happen next? Does the Fifth Circuit still have this? Does this go to the U.S. Supreme Court? What is the court what are the other courts doing on this around the country? What's happening in Congress? Has Trump commented on this? What if I already filed a BOI? Well, I'm going to hit those questions for you here, okay? That's what I'm thinking. And that's the questions I've been getting from clients and business owners across the country. But make no mistake, this is a big win for small business owners today. The national injunction, the Texas court order is back in effect. And that essentially means you do not have to file a BOI if you don't want to. All right, now what's going to happen next? Now, this is still at the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, all right? The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals is expediting this, and it's going to go before the regular process. No more emergency motions. That's where these first 2 orders that went whipsaw back and forth happened. These were like emergency orders, and 3-judge panels were ruling on these. They finally been like, no, let's let this thing be unconstitutional for now. Business owners don't have to file it, and let's let this go, and we're going to hear this in an expedited manner. So it's still at the Fifth Circuit. After it's decided the Fifth Circuit, this could be weeks, it could be months. They haven't issued the calendar yet, but they've said they're going to move this in an expedited manner. After the Fifth Circuit decides this, whoever loses is going to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court, whether that's the plaintiffs, the National Federation of Independent Business Owners. Shout out to them, by the way, for having an amazing case and prevailing on these for all business owners. But if they lose, they're going to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. If the government loses, they'll appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court as well. Now, there are other cases going around in other circuits. Okay, there was an Alabama case earlier this year, for example, where an Alabama federal district court judge ruled the BOI requirement unconstitutional as well. However, that case was limited to only the plaintiffs in that case. The reason this case that's been garnering all this attention out of Texas matters is because the federal district court judge in Texas said the BOI requirement that a business owner who establishes an LLC or corporation at the state must also go file something to the federal government is unconstitutional on its face for every plaintiff. Everybody, every business owner, it is unconstitutional in what's called a facial challenge, meaning no matter who this gets applied to, it's unconstitutional. And because the judge ruled in that way, the judge was able to put a nationwide injunction against the Department of Treasury and FinCEN saying, you cannot enforce this. Now, remember, the judicial branch, if you go back to we had politics, you had to take it in high school. If you remember this in government class, the judicial branch interprets the law and they apply the Constitution to the law. And that's the role of federal district court judges, federal appeals court, and ultimately the U.S. Supreme Court where this goes. Congress just gets to write the law. The executive branch enforces it. So right now we got Congress, who really has the football. We got the judicial branch, the courts, the Fifth Circuit right now, who's really got the football deciding what's happening on the BOIs. Okay, so the Fifth Circuit's going to have it for a while. This could go all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. This is the case to watch, the Texas case. Don't be distracted by all the other cases right now, the Alabama case or other ones. This is the big one, and the Fifth Circuit is the one really in control of this that's going to be deciding because this case has the nationwide injunction. This is the biggest issue at stake. All right. Now, I've had a lot of people ask me, well, what if I already filed, Matt? I already filed my BOI. Well, don't worry about it. You don't have to pay attention to the seesawing back and forth. That's good for you. You already filed. I filed. I filed for over a dozen entities of my own. We filed thousands for our clients in my law firm at KKOS Lawyers, ripping the shirt here. Also, our company compliance business, Main Street Business Services, we filed thousands for our clients where we do their company maintenance, we do their renewals. And so we filed thousands of these because people needed to do it. Well, in early December, we heard you actually don't have to, and this constitutional challenge became super important. So if you've already filed, don't worry about it. You're done. If you haven't filed, you may decide to go and just watch how this case goes. Now, the deadline was moved. It used to be January 1st, 2025. It was moved to January 13th, 2025 now to file a BOI. This is if you have an LLC or corporation that was set up before 2024. So you set up an LLC or corporation in 2022. Your deadline had been moved to January 13th, 2025. Now, that deadline doesn't matter because you can rely on this Fifth Circuit order right now that is essentially putting the national injunction back in place, which means you don't have to file a BOI for now. Now, I've had a lot of people say, I'm sick and tired of this back and forth, Matt. I'm just going to file the damn thing and be done with it. I get that. There's other people that think this is unconstitutional. I'm going to wait till the last minute of whether I file this thing or not. And I get that too. Likely, if the government wins at some point, there's going to be some relief and some time. Now, one other thing I wanted to say. This could go to U.S. Supreme Court. There's also a bill pending before Congress right now that would basically pull back the requirement for BOIs. We don't know what a new Trump administration is going to say on this either. Trump had initially vetoed the Corporate Transparency Act, which had this BOI requirement. He vetoed it on spending issues, though, because there was some defense spending in there he did not like. So we don't know. Trump hasn't said where he's going to go on this. There's a new Trump administration coming in January 20th. We're going to have an inauguration. They may decide not to push this at all. So I wanted to give you this update. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, though. I'm going to give you updates on what's going on. I'm going to see if there's any questions in here that I can grab right now. A lot of people are saying I was about to file tomorrow. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat here. Where did this law come from? The law came from the Corporate Transparency Act. Was about to file tomorrow. Now I'm not good. I'm glad you're paying attention here. You don't have to file. So, all right. Well, if I'm going to be coming back to any comments on this, again, make sure you're subscribed. I'll be providing updates later. Thanks for joining me. Want to make sure all of you got this update. Till then, enjoy the rest of the holidays. Enjoy your New Year. We'll see you next time.